Welcome to part 3 of the PowerPoint project number 2. We're starting on page 95 dealing with actual slide backgrounds. I'm going to dispense with the routine about the red circles and all that because by now you should have the routine down pat. I'm starting on page 95 where we have used a 4-slide presentation about yoga and meditation, and even though we picked a general theme which has these dark backgrounds by default, you can make individual slide backgrounds, and you can apply them to one slide or to 2 or 3 slides or to everything if you want to. There are different kinds of backgrounds, which are sometimes called fills. A solid one is one solid color. You may have a gradient fill where one color gradually goes into another. It may have texture to it like sand or granite or something like that. It can even be a picture, whereas this picture right here in slide number 3 is just a part of the slide. You could actually make that picture become the background, sort of like you do on your computer with your desktop, where you may have your child or grandchild's or dog's picture as the background. We can do the same thing with PowerPoint. We'll start with page 95 at the very bottom. We're going to go to slide 4, and we're going to right-click on the slide. I wanted to see what my timing was right here on my slideshow to make sure I'm okay on my video recording. If you right-click on slide number 4, you'll get a very shortcut menu, and the very bottom option on page 96 is called Format Background. Go ahead and select that. The 3 dots after the word background means that there is another set of choices that you can make. And we have a very involved window pane right here where we've got the fill selections. We could also change this to picture corrections, to picture color, or whatever. We'll leave it on fill according to page 96. And we're going to choose the option that says, and here are all the background fills you've got. You've got solid, where you can have some choices, and there's a preview right there. Notice that it turned kind of an orangey color. There's gradient, where the color may gradually change. There are patterns that are right here. We're going to choose the one in the book that says picture or texture fill. And right now it looks kind of like to me, like a kitchen countertop color. And that certainly can be changed. We can choose the texture arrow right below here, right kind of about a third of the way down in this window pane, and we have all kinds of textures that we can choose from. You can hover over these, and you can actually click on them if you wanted to see what the particular texture would look like, and you can change these. There's no absolute commitment to them if you want to escape from it. We're going to choose the one on page 97 that's called the sand background. It's the third one in the second row, this guy right here. Again, look at your pictures in the book to help you in the screen capture. I'm going to click on that. That background changes. I could apply this to every single slide by clicking Apply to All. I could reset the background to where it was originally. So you have opportunities to change this stuff as you need to. There's nothing that you can't undo or fix. If you get yourself into a jam, you can ask a fellow student or someone in the tutoring center, the library, or your instructor who can reach that person. Alright, now, normally we close this window, and we certainly could close it and just right-click again to get the background, but you can leave this open and work with other slides, and that's what we'll be doing at the bottom of page 97. We're going to go to slide 1, and you can actually click on slide 1 to select it. If you insist on doing what the book says, you would move over to the bottom corner of your window, and there are some buttons that are called Next Slide and Previous Slide, and you can click to get to those if you want to. Whatever works for you personally. Alright, watch the tiny red bullets when you're on page 97 because it's very easy to skip a step, as I did and had to record this particular video for that reason. Now the fill panel selected, I'm going to click picture or texture fill here, and this time, again, it gives you a default initially, but instead of having a color background this time, we're going to use a picture for the background, just like a lot of you do for your desktops, like I said, when you have like a child or a dog or something in the background that you're proud of. And to pick an actual picture for the background, we go to around the middle of this window pane, and it says Insert From, and you got the word File chosen there. You could choose Clip Art or whatever. I'll choose the word File here, and if you're in the book, I'm on the third bullet at the bottom of page 97 under red circle number 1. So I'll click the word File. It's going to the last place that you visited. Just find where your pictures are. Mine happen to be on my desktop. I don't know where yours are. You'll have to figure that out yourselves. And again, if you can't find your pictures, then you need to ask someone to help you. I can't guarantee that my file will always be exactly like yours, because there are hundreds of students maybe watching this video.
In little bitty red circle bullet number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
we're going to find the one that says Sunrise Yoga. And they're in alphabetical order. So there's Sunrise Yoga right there. You can click it. You can either double click it or you can click Insert. And that's what we're doing here. Page 98. And again, notice what's happened. The picture is not a part of the slide, but it is the entire background of the slide. You see it behind the window pane here, hopefully. If you didn't want to use this, you could always click the undo button if you want to, or you can reset the background. You have a lot of choices here.
Now, I'm going to continue leaving this open. Again, if you close it by accident, you can always right-click your slide and choose Format Background. You'll be right back here where you left off.
Now, sometimes what will happen, and I'm going to move this window over a bit, sometimes the picture will be absolutely beautiful looking, but it will cause the text to be more difficult to read. Like in my case, and I've got older eyes than a lot of you do, the phrase unify your mind, body, and spirit may be hard to read because of the darkness of this picture. So we have an opportunity, if you want to change the transparency so that the picture doesn't dominate to the extent that you can't see the text to even read it.
So on page 98 at the bottom,
we can click the little slider button down here where it says transparency. You could actually type a number right here if you wanted to, but you can also slide it. So if I have people that are having trouble getting the exact number in there, just go in there and just type 50% or 10% or whatever you want to do. And ask you at the bottom of page 99, bullet 1, to change the transparency to 10% to
make it a little nicer to read.
Alright, now by whatever means you need to do this, go over to page 99 and display slide number 4, where we've got the person with the contorted body, which I can't come anywhere near doing. And we'll do the transparency for that one as well and make that 50%. Again, I'm reading on page 99 in bullet number 1. I'll make this 50. Again, if you get a little bit, if your hand is not steady, just type 50 in the box and you'll be perfectly fine. And now we'll close this background box. So now we have, even though we got the verb theme going on, we have 2 of our slides that have a different background to them. So it's a nice thing to do with PowerPoint. A lot of people just get in there and just click and clack and do things, and they don't know that all these other nice enhancements, especially with pictures and backgrounds, are in here new to the 2010 version of Microsoft PowerPoint.
Now that we have the backgrounds, we can also look at different kinds of styles and patterns to it that can add more depth to the slide. We'll do that with the middle 2 slides by going to page 100.
I'll go to slide number 3.
Well, it's got the person's partial body showing, the forearm and the hand and the knee. And according to page 100, bullet 1, second one, it says to click the background styles button.
You go to the design tab. And when you click the design tab, you go all the way to the extreme right of your ribbon and choose background styles. There will be, I think, a dozen of these.
Yeah.
There, if you hover over these, you can choose them by number. Style 1 is the first one, and again, you'll see the preview. It's not a commitment until you've actually locked it in, plus you can always use the undo button. I'm going to choose style number 11. If you want to right-click it, you can apply it to every slide, or you can apply it to just a selected slide. Since I've got slide number 3 selected right here, I'm going to apply it to this particular slide. You may or may not be able to tell the difference. There's a slight difference in color. Alright, let's go to slide 2. I'm on page 101.
And again, we'll look at the slide background. And bullet number 2 on page 101, or bullet number 1, I apologize. Click background styles again over on the right. This time, choose style number 10. Just hover over it. You can right-click it. You could actually click it and you'll be perfectly fine. But if you want to right-click, as the book says, and apply it to the selected slide, you can do that. You can actually click the style itself, and it will. The danger of doing that is you'll get every slide having this effect, and that's the default. That's the danger. If you just click it, you're going to have every slide done. So I'm going to click my lovely undo button to get back where I was. Thank goodness. I'm glad I did that, actually. You want to... It's a little bit tricky, isn't it?
You want to right-click style number 10 and apply it just to the one slide. Apparently the default
is all slides. I learned something about PowerPoint. We all learned something, even if we're instructors. We're not all knowing necessarily. All right, here we go. Now, we've been formatting the slide background. Now let's look at the title and content. My absolute favorite button is these right here, and that's the one called Format Painter. The birth theme has a particular heading style where text for the titles on the side. It uses a particular font for the letters called Century Gothic, and we can change some of this stuff if you want to. A lot of times you read this text around the directions, you can learn a lot of stuff, but many students either don't have time or don't have the interest to read the textbook, and they'll just go straight to the application. If you do that, go to page 102. Let's look at slide number 1. And what we're going to do is move the mouse pointer over to unify your mind. And what will happen, the mouse will change depending on whether it's going over a picture or text or whatever. Right now it's a white arrow, but if I move next to unify your mind, the mouse changes to what's called an I-beam. It's an I shape. It indicates something dealing with text. So if I click that and just drag across with the mouse, hold my mouse button down, drag across as if we were going to select it to bold it, we're going to select all 3 of these subtitle lines right here. Just drag across it. Select it whatever way you're used to doing it. I'll go over here now with the text selected and click the Home tab, and then choose the font, which is under here Century Gothic, which is default for this theme. And then over in step number 4 on page 103, we'll look at something called Papyrus. If you want to find something similar, if it's not on your computer, or if you have an Apple, you can just choose something else if you want to. There's Papyrus right there. I'll choose that. And the text changes just a bit. Sometimes the letters will display more prominently if you've got a different kind of effect with it. So this time with the text still selected, we'll click in the font group, still the Home tab. Go to the font group, and there's something here called Shadow. And if you just hover over it, it's right next to bold, italics, underline. There's one called Shadow. Be sure your text is selected or this won't work. And if you click on this, bottom of page 103, you'll get a little bit of a thickness, something differently than you can do with just bolding it. Speaking of bold, on page 104, let's click bold to make it a little bit darker. That makes it a little better to read. And we'll change the font color, step number 2 on page 104, to a light yellow by moving over to the A. That stands for alphabet, by the way, and that little arrow, if you click on it, it's going to turn red. If you click the arrow, you have choices. Light yellow, text 2 is the 4th color in the first row. I would probably have even gone something even brighter than that. Alright, so we have that selected. Let's go to slide number 2 with the gentleman in yoga meditation mind calming format. Alright, bottom of page 104. We'll click the next slide. And they give you an option that a lot of people use called triple clicking. That's a way of selecting paragraphs. You can select all the characters this way. So if you move over to the caption, you can drag across and select it if you want to. If you triple click it, you'll get the whole sentence. But if you want to drag across it because that's your comfort level, you do that. And again, you can change the font to 20 by moving up here and changing it to 20 directly. Or if you want to, you can click the larger A versus the smaller A, and that will increase your font gradually until you get to 20. Whatever works for you is totally fine. And while it's selected, go ahead and click the bold button, and that's going to make it a little bit easier to read, as you can tell right there, amidst that whiter background. Now, leave that text selected, and if you haven't already selected it, leave it that way. Now, notice what we did here. We selected the text, and we have both bold and 20-point selected. There's a real cool button that I absolutely love, and I'm glad this book is finally teaching, called the Format Painter button. Back in the day, for those who are closer to my age, I used to call this the Be Like Michael Jordan button. We could use anyone now, or Justin Bieber, for instance. We have people that want to imitate a celebrity or an athlete or even a role model that they know personally. And that's what the Format Painter button is for me. If you've got something like this that maybe you have bolded and changed color, and you've done several steps to get the text the way you want it, instead of having to do those same 4 or 5 steps every single time, you can use this Format Painter button and do all this with one click. So by having this selected,
you can move over to the Home tab, and over in the left-hand corner, below Cut and Copy, there's something called Format Painter. Now, if you click it once, you can apply this formatting one time. If you double-click it, you can apply this lots of times.
So they're asking you on page 105, step number 1, to double-click
the Format Painter button. What will happen, your mouse pointer, as it comes on the screen, maybe hard to see on this video, it will change to an I-beam, but it has a little
paintbrush that goes with it. You have to be careful with it, because sometimes you'll format stuff that you don't mean to format.
I'm going to display slide number 3. Now again, be careful. The Format Painter button is still there. This is something possibly, if you're more of a hands-on person, this may be something your instructor or friend needs to show you versus a video. It's a little bit tougher sometimes in a video. Alright, I'm going to select Increase Muscle Tone, etc. That's it. You can triple click it as the book says. Whoops. Let me undo the button going there. Or you can get in here and just select it like so. And again, notice that paintbrush is still there. It's going to do the same style that I did in that earlier sentence. Notice how it changed to 20-point size and bold, and that's why it made it larger.
You can do this as many places as you wanted to, even in Word. This is lovely to do in Word. Very, very handy.
I would learn this one as much as I would the copy, cut, and paste buttons. I'm going to undo that because sometimes I have a hard time getting that letter. I didn't get the I in the word increase, so I'm going to triple click it so I can get everything.
You have to be careful with it.
And when you are through with it, you can either click the Format Painter button again, or you can hit the Escape key, and notice that my mouse will go back to the standard form.
Now in the final video, we're going to be looking at applying shapes to
this presentation, and we'll be finished with this particular project. Again, if you have questions, please contact your instructor. And be sure, as I'm going to do, that you save your changes.